Recently, there's been a lot of FUD surrounding Tether, the USDT stablecoin, which accounts for the third largest crypto by market cap and $184 billion, just ahead of XRP, sitting at $122 billion. And by the way, a collapse in Tether, whether they depeg or go insolvent, would cause carnage and a black swan event unlike anything we've ever seen, because this would be a total loss of faith in stable coins and arguably the biggest issuer of stable coins. And recently, a lot of news has come out surrounding how they could crash, as Arthur Hayes states a roughly 30% decline in gold and their Bitcoin position could wipe out their equity. And in theory, this would create for a situation where USDT would be insolvent. And if you don't remember, a mere $60 billion collapse in Terra Luna back in 2022 set the market on fire and created an environment where we saw more and more companies crash, go insolvent, see bank runs, which brought to light more scams and exposed bad actors, which led to the crash and collapse of FTX, which set Bitcoin below its prior all-time high for the very first time in a bear market, hitting about $15,600 to $800. So imagine what a collapse in Tether would do to the market, where the current market cap is sitting at almost $200 billion, or roughly a little over 3 times the size of a Terra Luna. It's also important to note that both of these situations have occurred in a weaker market environment where crypto, and more specifically Bitcoin, was putting in new lower lows and new lower highs for a major downtrend, with the all-time high being here and the major low being here. And as you can see, we've seen lower highs and lower lows in between these ranges, which leads me to believe that any mismanagement from Tether could actually cause a crypto black swan event, which would actually set in motion a domino effect that would also affect Bitcoin, and more specifically, one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, Michael Saylor's strategy. Because for the first time ever, MicroStrategy has gone below 1 NAV, meaning that Michael Saylor's BTC holdings are worth less than their total debt, and traders are front running the death spiral on MSTR and its eventual BTC for selling. And something like this occurring will affect the price of XRP. So we're going to cover it all in this video, what the odds and likelihood are of something like this occurring, the most recent statement from Paolo Ardoino, the CEO of Tether, and even some possible scenarios in the case that we experience Tether go insolvent and how low these cryptos will dump. Now, before we dive into this video, you literally have less than 8 hours left to claim your 7-day free trial to altcoinpro.com and everything you'll get access to on the other side. This is the first and only time we've ever run an offer like this from Black Friday to Cyber Monday, but time is running out. So if you're still on the fence, but you've always heard about it, you've always wanted to check it out, you want to get ahead of your crypto investments and portfolio, here's why you should do it right now.
Hey, bull runners, for the next 96 hours for Black Friday through Cyber Monday, we're doing something that we've never done before and most likely not going to do again until maybe another year from right now. But we're opening the doors for a 7-day free trial to altcoinpro.com. So that means you're going to get full access to 100 plus expert curated classes, everything you can imagine about crypto. We got live weekly calls with our research team, state of the market monthly reports, daily altcoin picks when they pop up. Now, even during a bear market, we have DeFi liquidity pool strategies that you guys can leverage to be able to earn passive income regardless of market conditions. We got airdrop alerts. Plus, we have a 20% partner program if you guys want to share Altcoin Pro and earn passive income, by being a partner with us. Now, here's the craziest part too. Even if you forget, let's say, for example, life gets in the way and your card gets charged after 7 days, well, you're still protected by our 14-day money-back guarantee. So I'm not asking you to buy, I'm asking you to try it, because it's effectively 21 days, completely risk-free, and the doors are going to close Monday at midnight. So to grab your spot before the 7-day free trial is gone, all you need to do is go to altcoinpro.com. The link will be above this video, or it'll be below the video. And if you're sitting there right now thinking to yourself, well, I gotta talk to my significant other, I gotta talk to my wife, I gotta ask their permission before I get started. Amanda, what do you gotta say to them about that?
Never ask my permission when you need to buy something.
True. So click the link above, get started. It's free, guys. So I'll see you on the inside. As always, you know what to do. stay bullish.
Hello and welcome back to the Bull Runners channel. If you're new here, my name is Paul. You can find me on Twitter or X at PaulieDeFi, PaulieDeFi. This post from Arthur Hayes, which is a major name in crypto and the co-founder of BitMEX exchange, does have a lot of weight and pull when it comes to the opinions and even the sentiment in the crypto market. And now he's covering how Tether and the folks over there are running a massive interest rate trade, and how when he read the audit, they think that the Fed will cut rates, will crush their interest income. And so in response to this, they are essentially diversifying or hedging by buying gold and Bitcoin, which in theory will create a situation where Bitcoin in the crypto market will moon as the price of the dollar falls, right? A lot of people look at digital assets and say eventually they're bound to go up because of the reverse carry trade of massive amounts of debt and inflation and the collapse of fiat currency. So where will wealth need to go? It'll need to go to crypto. But then he goes on to further state that a 30% decline in gold and Bitcoin, which is likely going to occur if we are in a bear market. We always see at least a 30+% decline in Bitcoin and far more in the entire crypto market when we are in a bear market, could essentially wipe out the equity of USDT and make them insolvent. So now he's stating, get ready, get your popcorn out and watch the fireworks fly. And here he is posting the audit directly from Tether and the assets that they currently hold, which is essentially what secures their business with the stablecoin Tether, right? If they're issuing stablecoins, they have to back it one for one in cash reserves or cash equivalents, or even a basket of assets like gold and Bitcoin. And so this is just one of the major risks we're witnessing in the market right now. And again, a crash in Tether will cause a lot of the bottoms to fall out from all of these other cryptos, which would then send Bitcoin nuking, which will force MicroStrategy likely to sell some of their Bitcoin. And then you have Peter Schiff, one of the largest haters of Bitcoin and the crypto market, stating that this is the beginning of the end for MicroStrategy, as Michael Saylor was forced to sell stock not to buy Bitcoin, but to buy US dollars merely to fund MSTR's interest and dividend obligations, which seem to be true because with a post this large with 1.8 million views, there would have been plenty of community notes suggesting that this is a complete and flat out lie, even considering Bitcoin Archive talked about how it's defamatory and libelous. But I do believe that this is true, and we'll cover that in a second, where he states the stock is broken. The reality is it's not, nor is Saylor the biggest con man on Wall Street. And we have to remember, whether you love Michael Saylor or hate him, a collapse of his company will destroy the crypto market for a little while, because he's consistently one of the largest buyers and holders of the mothership of crypto. Either way, in the process of selling the stock, their stock did dump quite a bit, and Strategy built a $1.44 billion cash reserve to secure Bitcoin dividends. The Bitcoin Treasury Company, formerly known as MicroStrategy, now just Strategy, raised the reserve through stock sales at favorable prices. So this does seem to be true, which kept their debt levels low at 11% loan to value. They also added another 130 Bitcoin to their holdings, bringing it up to 650K. And I think his goal is to never sell the Bitcoin over the next 30, 50 years, right? At an average cost of about $74,000. Either way, they're going to be able to cover their loans and dividends for the next 70 years if Bitcoin grows even just modestly. So again, right now we are experiencing FUD when it comes to Tether, and these types of things tend to come out of the woodworks when you're seeing the market operate really weakly, or we're seeing a trend to the downside. But when you see Tether FUD, you start to see one of the largest Bitcoin holding companies and their FUD. So with all of that said, I went ahead and asked Grok and ChatGPT to give me the likely outcome and scenario, just realistic lows on the entire crypto market, but more specifically Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Doge, and the prices they could hit if Tether became depegged in the same way Terra Luna did, or the company went insolvent. And ChatGPT gave me a scenario where we'd experience immediate market shock, which I totally agree. We'd see cascading liquidations, a flash crash. Many people would call it a black swan event, contagion contagion would then last over the next hours and days, where centralized exchanges would disable USDT withdrawals. And essentially, you'd have a bank run of epic proportions, which would lead into a crisis of trust, which always occurs when we see a collapse in some form of currency. And in the case of a mild panic, we would still see a $25,000 Bitcoin on the very, very low end, full systemic crisis between 12,000 to 15,000 on Bitcoin, which take us back to the prior all-time low of 2022, which when you really think about it, that's not that long ago. It's only been about 3 to 4 years now. Ethereum on the low end would hit about $850, on the higher end about $1,500. XRP would hit about 32 to 40 cents and potentially even 10 to 15 cents, where Solana would be between $40 to $15, and then you'd see Doge back down to about a penny or less. But I do believe Doge has quite a bit of support and already hasn't seen as much hype this cycle as it has in past cycles, and hasn't pumped as hard as other assets like XRP and Solana this cycle as well. Either way, a collapse in Tether would cause contagion and a trust crisis in the crypto market, to which we had Paolo Ardoino, and excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, basically the CEO of Tether, talking about the FUD, and from his latest attestation announcement for Q3 of 2025, how Tether will continue to maintain a multi-billion-dollar excess reserve buffer and an overall proprietary group equity approaching $30 billion. How Tether at the end of Q3 of this year had $7 billion in excess equity on top of their 184.5 billion stablecoins reserves, another 23 billion in retained earnings as a part of the Tether Group equity. And so right now, the Tether Group's assets are greater than that of their liabilities. But we have to remember, if these assets go down by 30+%, that would look a lot different. And it's also important to note that in the past, when we saw a crisis of trust in stablecoins, virtually all stablecoins at some point in time became depegged in 2022, and most of them failed or had to restructure, whereas Tether was actually able to handle the stress test of a bank run and was able to hand out about $7+ billion to people who wanted out. So the stress test was a bank run, it was a crisis, and they did last through that scenario. But it's possible we could experience some sort of a bubble type scenario where things are way worse this time than the prior time. Either way, our very own DeFi Mo inside of Altcoin Pro University, which you can get right now for free on a 7-day trial while you're watching this video within the next 8 hours, probably a little bit less by the time you watch the video. However, he talked about the Tether report and how they are extremely profitable. Again, these profitability these margins and their profitability will come down if less and less people are using stablecoins. However, all of the numbers and all of the stats point to the fact that stablecoin growth is here to stay and will continue to grow alongside the traditional financial sector as they adopt blockchain technologies and have more use cases for stablecoins, and especially with real world assets, which is going to continue to grow into the trillions and trillions of dollars. Much of that will require stablecoins. So this is a profitable company. It just means that they're going to have to probably be stress tested yet again. Now, his thoughts, and something that he mentions, which means a lot of this probably is mostly FUD, is that the data does a good job of shutting down most of the FUD, and that Tether is operating with one of the biggest capital buffers in the history of stablecoins, and that much is verifiable even if all of the reserves aren't. And with $500 million per month in risk-free treasury yield revenue, the balance sheet keeps strengthening, which is a really good sign that even among FUD, even among a crypto crash, even with a bit of a bank run, USDT will likely be here to stay, as will MicroStrategy, which is positioned to cover 70 years of dividends if Bitcoin grows even modestly. And so although I do believe a scenario like this is extremely unlikely, I also believe that we are now in a new phase of the market, which I would call a bear market, because the price action and charts are showing me that. So unless we see the Fed really step in with some QE or lower interest rates rapidly, the trend is likely to continue, as the trend is your friend. Now, what I find super interesting, however, is that Grok and ChatGPT always come out to different scenarios and outputs. But in the case of this type of an event where we see Tether really drop heavily and arguably become insolvent, it came out to a lot of the same exact numbers or within a range. For example, Bitcoin on the low end with its 17K, Ethereum up to like 650, XRP down to 30 to 45 cents, which would be a major range of support. Solana down to 13 or 20 bucks, and Doge yet again at about a penny, leading to a crypto crisis unlike anything we've ever seen. And arguably buying in these ranges would make a lot of people very rich. And so if a scenario like this occurred, either way, I think we are headed down in the short term to the midterm, which means if you're only one of those people that buys and holds spot assets or crypto and has to watch it go up in order to make money, you are missing out on the other half of the market. Because one difference about most retail investors versus institutional players and investors is that institutions make money on both sides of the market by shorting the market with a bit of leverage. And by the way, more often than not, they also do it using other people's money. And if you want to take advantage of an opportunity exactly like that by risking a mere fraction of your total portfolio, you're going to want to check this out.
What if you could trade with $100,000 without ever risking any of your own capital? Well, I'm doing it right now, trading a 100K funded account with zero of my own money on the line. I just paid a one-time evaluation fee to take a trading test. That's it. Because everyone's been asking us, how do I get crypto loans, or how do you leverage trade without risking any of your own capital? Well, that's exactly why we're leveraging Breakout, which is a crypto prop trading firm recently acquired by Kraken with over 10 million clients, 2.5 million funded accounts, and over $1.5 billion in revenue in 2024 alone. They will fund you up to $200,000 after passing one simple trading test, and you get to keep up to 90% of the profit, and you can withdraw in USDC 24/7 after passing the trading test through the link in the description of this video. Now, here's the problem that I've seen most people face. Let's say you're trading with $10,000 of your own money. That's your rent, that's your groceries, that's an emergency fund, and one bad trade or black swan event and poof, your account is completely blown. Rent's late, savings is wiped, and your family is stressed out. So you're not trading to win. Trading your own money is trading for survival, whereas trading with 100K of risk-free capital is freedom. In fact, if you only have $10,000, you should never be trading with all of that. Instead, if you took just 10%, which is $1,000, and you buy the 100K or the 200K breakout test, and you pass the test, well, you're going to be trading with six figures without depositing or risking any of your own money. This is what I'm doing right now. And if you fail the test, you only lose $1,000 instead of your $10,000, because you shouldn't even be trading with $10,000 of your own money in the first place if you can't pass a simple $1,000 trading test. And the best part is there's no limit on retries. So that $1,000 can give you 10 shots at a 100K account if you fail the first few. That's 10x better risk management. And that's how you prove you actually know what you're doing. And this is the smartest strategy that the best traders in the world use. That's OPM, other people's money. You pass the test, you trade Kraken's money, and you get to keep up to 90% of the profits. And you can withdraw USDC on demand 24/7. So I paid, I passed, and now I'm trading 100K, and it only cost me $1,000 rather than risking $100,000 of my own money. And now it's your turn. So do not buy the small test. You're here to scale your portfolio fast. So here's exactly what you need to do right now. I left a link in the description of this video, and when you click it and select the classic one-step 100K or 200K account test, you simply click start trading, and then you enter in the affiliate code 777 on your checkout to get the maximum discount on your 100K or 200K funded account. And make sure to check the add-on box for the 90% profit split. It's only $100 extra. It pays for itself in your first payout, and if you skip it, you're leaving 10% on the table forever, so it's well worth it. Then you simply pay for the test, you pass it, you have an unlimited time frame, and you get to keep up to 90% of the profits. And again, you can withdraw in USDC anytime that you want after you pass the test. That's it. Now, we do earn a small commission when you use our code 777, but it supports value-based videos like this, and it'll help you get the maximum discount on your 100K or 200K funded account test. So click the link in the description right now, take the test, Let's get you funded.
So you can go ahead and take advantage of that by clicking on the breakout link in the description below. And also, while you're at it, go and create your very own free account on a 7-day trial with a 14-day money-back guarantee over at altcoinpro.com. This is 21 days of risk-free value. And if it ain't for you, no big deal. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by simply checking it out. I appreciate your time for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video, my friend. Goodbye.